Great, thank you guys. Today we talked a lot about the governor, and he's talking about water, high-speed rail, the budget. You know, looking out, he's 75% done with what he's done so far. What's his legacy going to be? What are you going to write about his legacy, you know, a few months out from now, or when he finally steps out of the office? What's that legacy? What do you think?
Yeah, what do you already have written, Juliet?
I think a lot of it will be about getting the fiscal house back in order and projecting this air of fiscal sanity. Depending on what happens with the high-speed rail project, we don't quite know the outcome of that yet. I think that will be a component of it. I think he would like the water project to be a component of that. And the criminal justice changes, I won't call them reforms because that might imply a certain political bent to it, and you know, the criminal justice changes that he made to the system will be part of his legacy, I think, both for good or ill, depending on your look on it. I think those are the so far what we've seen, but I guess we'll see over the next little while. Yeah, I guess the rest remains to be written.
I suspect that what the governor would want people to say when he leaves office is that California is back on track. However you define back on track, and it's another whole discussion that we don't have time for about what you measure back on track to actually mean. But if you look back, and I mean, and I've been in Sacramento covering state government for 15 years, and I look at my 15 years, much of that, at least a decade of that, I would almost call a lost decade in a way. Huge deficits, huge fights, a lot of paralysis of policy issues, not a lot getting done. Brown came in and by force of nature, by his own political personality and some luck at the stock market and the tax measure in 2012, I mean, a few things together, things have gotten a little bit better. And of course, Prop 25, majority vote budget. You don't have to have a 2/3 vote on a budget any longer. That was a huge part of this. But I think the governor would like to say, I got the state back on track. What I find fascinating about that is that I don't think that there's any one great thing he can point to like
Right.
I did.
Right.
I mean, high-speed rail, he apparently loves, climate change, water, but he's not going to be able to point to any of those as his thing, like his father with the aqueduct project or higher ed. Or I think it's going to be a back on track. I think that's what the
Right.
governor would want people to say about him. And there's still, you know, 2 more years to see that.
And the thing that I think he's astute in realizing about the back on track is that I think he gets that people just want someone to be in charge and to not have to worry about it. And that's part of what has led to his success. And part of the reason that he doesn't have to go out stumping for things is that people don't want to have to worry that someone is in charge. It's like the sense that, you know, he's got it. He's someone who knows what they're doing is there. I mean, when Schwarzenegger was governor, everything was a mess, and we had all these budget crises, and he was on TV every night telling you it was terrible, and we have another budget shortfall, and you had this sense that we had to be worried all the time, and it's that sense that everything's back on track, as John says.
So 7 years out, close with this, and I think to your point about the governor. So 7 years ago when he was running for governor, he was still Attorney General, he came and spoke to our board of directors, and there's 70 people that he's speaking to that are run companies. And his topic was musing really about whether or not the determinant sentence law was effective and whether it was a good choice. So I think my only question is, why did it take him 7 years to make this an agenda item? Because he's obviously had this on his mind. So when you ask the question, what are you going to write about his legacy? I think there's also the question is, I think it coincides with what does he want you to write about his legacy?
Right.
And I think it's probably being a prudent fiscal manager, getting the state back on track. And I think there are, you know, a few other, I think sentencing, you know, correcting a past mistake that, which I don't want to say a mistake, but fine-tuning a law that he did very few people get a chance to do.
But like so many governors, the great question is, what do these policies look like 5, 10 years
Right.
out? What is the sentencing issues and the prison issues? What does water look like? What do they look 5, 10 years out? I mean, because you can't write that legacy the day he leaves office. So.